The reason I'm doing this video is to reach out to teens and the youth of today that think there's better things out there than their parents and family. Um, some taking the wrong path with drugs and alcohol. And I need to make a couple statements that I am not a licensed therapist, psychiatrist, psychologist, and whatever else health um, official. My knowledge is purely from personal experience with my 19-year-old son that was killed 5.5 years ago due to alcohol and marijuana. Um, Jordan was an excellent child growing up, never caused me any problems, never had to discipline him, and was just a joy to be around. He touched everybody's heart that he came into contact with, and his beautiful smile left an everlasting impression on everybody he came into contact with, even as he got older and was having his issues. Um, his death has totally changed my life, totally changed me as a person, and totally changed my outlook on a lot of different things. I don't even know where to begin. I know there's kids out there that have problems, and their way of dealing with it is alcohol or drugs or sexual promiscuity even, um, for acceptance, to fit in with their peers, to not look like a dork or a geek or whatever kids are calling each other these days. Jordan, I'm not sure when he started drinking or when he started smoking pot, because he never would talk to me about those things, even though I always told him, you can always talk to me. And if you're going to do stuff like that, I'd rather you do it at home so I can be there and monitor, because you never know how something's going to affect you physically, mentally, mainly. Everything affects everybody in a different way. In 2005, I met my now husband, and he's in the Army. He was stationed at Fort Knox, Kentucky, and I eventually moved down there to be with him and to get married. And I begged Jordan to come down there with me to start a new life and get away from his friends and acquaintances that were involved in the alcohol and drugs and other mischievous activity, I later found out. Jordan came and visited, and I actually thought he was going to move down there, but he didn't. And he was living with my mom and dad, and his buddies moved in one by one, and they were partying it up in my parents' basement, and he treated my parents like crap after everything they've done for him throughout the years. And I witnessed it one day, and I flew down the stairs after him because, excuse my French here, but he said, "Fuck you, Grandpa," and that just went right through me. So I flew down the stairs and I got in his face. I said, "Don't you ever talk to my dad like that again." Because at that point, don't disrespect someone that is providing for you and your friends, someone that has loved you from day one unconditionally and has provided for you all throughout your years. Um, and later that day, I was still there visiting, and my youngest son came up and told me, he goes, I don't want to be a tattletale, but Jordan and another one of his friends, I'm not going to mention names, are smoking pot. So my husband and I flew downstairs, and I basically told this other kid to get the hell out of my parents' house, that that's disrespectful and I won't tolerate it. And things just kind of went downhill from there. My husband and I had just got back from our 1-year wedding anniversary, and 2 weeks later, I come home from a long, exhausting 12 or 14 hour day at work, and the phone was ringing as I walked in. And my husband was like, "That's probably your mom. She's called. She wants you to call her." So I answered the phone. And she was like, "Is Dean there with you?" And I'm like, "Yeah. I just got home from work. I'm exhausted. What's up?" She goes, "Are you sure Dean's there with you?" I said, "Yes, Mom. He's standing right here." She goes, "Well, I have some bad news." And my initial thought was something happened with my dad, because his health hasn't been that great for years. And I'll never forget those words. They ring in my ears every day of my life. And she told me, "Jordy was killed instantly this morning." Needless to say, I totally lost it. Started screaming, "No, no, no." Dropped to the ground. And I don't even know what happened to the phone at that point, but my husband was freaking out. He's like, "What is wrong? What is wrong?" I was like, "Get the phone, talk to Mom." I couldn't believe it. I was in shock. And of course I wanted to leave right then. But it's 8 o'clock at night. I just got home from work in the landfill, and there was nothing I could do. If I did leave, I couldn't drive. I was in no shape to drive. And with my husband being in the Army, there was certain steps we had to take with the Army and the Red Cross to be able to leave Kentucky. He's like, "Just go pack, we'll leave. We'll get up and leave first thing in the morning." So I went and packed while he talked to my mom, and he made his phone calls he needed to make. I went to bed, didn't sleep, of course, and my mind is racing in vivid images of Jordan being hit by this truck in the middle of the highway. And it's just thoughts and images that I'll never get out of my head as to what happened to my precious son, who was only 19 and a few months away of being 20. But we got up the next morning and we left. That was the longest 3-hour drive of my entire life. What to say when I got there, what to say to my mom and dad, what to say to my younger son that I was picking up on the way. I don't even remember the trip really, other than stopping to pick my youngest son up, and he had already known. His stepmom told him. But what do you say to a 14-year-old about his brother being killed, or something so stupid and preventable as alcohol? But we finally get it to my parents. And there were no words to be said at that point in time. None. No words. And I found out what had happened exactly that night. And I guess the little bit of story that I've gotten, and who knows what's true and what's not, only the boys that were with him that night know exactly what's true. They had been drinking, and I'm sure smoking pot, at my parents', and they decided to leave. Well, there was Jordan and 3 other boys and a girl, and Jordan sat in the back seat of his own car while somebody else drove. And Jordan and the boy in the back seat got into a fight over this girl or something. So the driver pulled over, not even a mile from my parents' house on the highway. And Jordan got out of the car, and he said, "I'm not getting back in until you take him home." Which, this boy lived about a mile down the road. So they get in the car to take this kid home. And this was about 11:20, 11:30 at night. Jordan's wallet, cell phone, any type of identification or anything was in the car. His car that his friends were driving. And at 6:30 the next morning, in rush hour traffic, Jordan was in the middle of the highway, stumbling around, swinging at vehicles is what the coroner's report said, and witnesses' testimony. And he got hit by a truck, killed him instantly. I don't know if the boys went back to get him. I was told that they did not, that when they got to this kid's house, they went in and passed out. In the meantime, they are using my son's cell phone, calling people calling it, while my son lays dead on the highway. Or for the 7 hours that nobody can account for where he was at. Makes me wonder. I sit and think about that every day. Where was he for 7 hours that nobody seen him, nobody found him? Or for the fact that he didn't even walk to the gas station that was not even a block away from where he was at, or to my parents' house that was a mile away. You know, those are unanswered questions that I'll never have the answers to. Now, my thing is, those boys have to live with that the rest of their lives, if they did go back or not. Those boys have to live with that guilt of leaving their supposed friend along the side of the highway where he met his demise due to alcohol and marijuana. The next hardest thing I've ever had to do is make funeral arrangements. No parent should ever have to do that. To pick out the last outfit that their child will wear and be seen in. To pick out the coffin that's going to be his forever bed. Luckily, I had a very supportive husband that stood by me and helped me through that process and made sure that everything went the way